งอยู่กับรายการตอบโจทย์ SME นะคะทางช่อง Smart SME TV ชี้ช่องรวยค่ะอย่างที่เราพูดคุยกันไปเมื่อสักครู่นี้นะคะเกี่ยวกับความเป็นมาของ Social Entrepreneurship หรือว่า Social Enterprise นั่นเองนะคะกิจการเพื่อสังคมเราทราบแล้วล่ะที่มาที่ไปของกิจการเพื่อสังคมนะคะว่าเกิดขึ้นมาได้อย่างไรแล้วก็เบสิกไอเดียหรือว่าความคิดริเริ่มของกิจการเพื่อสังคมคืออะไรบ้างนั้นนะคะคราวนี้ค่ะเบรกนี้เราจะพาคุณผู้ชมไปพูดคุยกันเพิ่มมากยิ่งขึ้นนะคะเกี่ยวกับผลประโยชน์ที่กลุ่มธุรกิจจะได้จากการที่เข้ามาสัมผัสกับทางด้านของ SE หรือว่า Social Entrepreneurship นั่นเองนะคะแล้วเราก็ยังคงอยู่กับ Professor Mike Caslin นะคะที่เข้ามาร่วมให้เกียรติตอบโจทย์ในรายการของเราในวันนี้นะคะ Well, coming back to the show, last break we were talking about how social entrepreneurship came about. What is the idea behind the initiative of social entrepreneurship? Well, today, this break, we're going to go into the benefit that the business sector will get from adapting the social entrepreneurship into their business.
Absolutely. I think what we're going to see right now over at Busam, we have 40 high-impact social entrepreneurs being trained. They, I believe, will be transformational to the future of Thailand, both in their own family businesses and then in the new businesses they create and in the companies they join.
Right.
For existing SME companies, why you want to invest in trying to get talent out of Busam that have this philosophy is that they are a much more holistic student and a much more holistic entrepreneur, that they're not focused on a sole discipline of a particular area of business, that they understand that in the end you must generate sales, you must generate profit, you must change the world through business, and that's their philosophy, and that's a very exciting commitment. So I think you're going to have self-motivated people who want more and want Thailand to be stronger. And we see that as a very good thing.
And how social entrepreneurship will bring profit to the company?
I think what we've seen in the United States, and also to investors, because there's also people who invest in companies that want returns and want to have good success for the business. We're starting to see that customers start to understand which companies are for them over time, and which companies are what I would call short-term transactions. There's much research out of the United States now that when it comes to similar companies, the company that has a focus on a triple bottom line, on a more aspirational view for the country and for their own company, the customers will be more loyal. The customers will spend more with that company. They will understand that there's a common ethic, a common value about the use of particular products, the behavior of zero waste commitment, and all those commitments by business in a social entrepreneur point of view will attract customers to say, yes, I'd rather shop here because I know that they are making my life not only easier and better with their products, but they're making society and the environment stronger too.
Right. Do you think that this sort of business plan with the social entrepreneurship is working better with the X or Y generation than the baby boomer generations?
Yes, I think the X, Y, millennial, whatever you like to refer to them, they are our future, and they want success and significance now.
So it's better. And how can you persuade the people of the baby boomer generation or the generations before to be interested in the social entrepreneurship?
That I think to realize that this is a force that's evolving and it's coming, and the younger generation that will take over family businesses will want to pursue, purpose and profit. They will want to have meaning and make money. They will want to have success, but they also want to have significance. They want to know why they're here. They want to be able to say that the world, their lives have been worth something more immediate
Right.
than possibly in the earlier generations, which said, yes, I'll work very hard. When I get some gray hair, I get some money, I'll just like give some money away to help
Right.
fix it. The brilliant students we have over at Busam, they say, let's do it now. I don't want to wait. And honestly, the tools exist for both men and in particular young ladies, in women in business. There's a fantastic opening and opportunity
Right.
that we see around the world. So I think if you can get the right technology of learning going, and Babson's committed to being the leader in that for the world, and we're thrilled to be here promoting this and working with specifically with the students and the faculty and administration, we have a chance to shift much more quickly towards greater performance.
Right.
And if you look at the evolution of business management, there was a time in business management when they made factories they thought more productive
Right.
by shutting lights off and turning them back on every 10 minutes.
Right.
Because one researcher said we need to shut lights on and off. So there's changes in that. There's a time when they said, you know what? I'm only going to hire the person's hands. I don't care if they understand my business. I don't care if they're inspired by my business. Just have them show up and work. Those days are gone. And we can't afford to write off the heart, soul, mind, and the effort of any person here in Thailand or around the world.
เมื่อกี้พิมพ์ถามไปนะคะว่าทางด้านของธุรกิจกิจการที่ตอบแทนสังคมนะคะหรือว่า social entrepreneurship เนี่ยนะคะมีผลหรือว่ามี impact มากน้อยขนาดไหนต่อคนในหลายๆรุ่นเนี่ยนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นบุคคลรุ่นใหม่เมื่อเทียบกับบุคคลในยุค baby boomer หรือว่ายุคก่อนหน้านี้เนี่ยนะคะศาสตราจารย์แคสเลนบอกว่าถ้าเป็นคนรุ่นใหม่เนี่ยอาจจะต้องการที่จะเห็นผลโดยเร็วมากที่สุดมากกว่าทางด้านของยุค baby boomer เมื่อเขาคิดว่าเขาเก็บสตุ้งสตางค์มาสักพักหนึ่งแล้วก็บั้นปลายชีวิตเนี่ยอาจจะเห็นผลแต่คนในสมัยใหม่เนี่ยนะคะหรือว่า generation Y generation X หรือว่าแม้แต่ generation millennium ก็ตามเนี่ยนะคะพวกเขาอยากจะเห็นผลเลยแล้วก็สิ่งที่พวกเขาสามารถทำได้เพื่อจะตอบแทนคืนสู่สังคมคือสิ่งที่ตอบโจทย์บุคคลที่อยู่ในยุคศตวรรษที่ 21 มากที่สุดนะคะเมื่อพูดถึงแบบนี้แล้วเนี่ยนะคะสิ่งที่มันจะทำให้ยากขึ้นกว่าเดิมก็คือการที่จะไปโน้มน้าวจิตใจของคนที่อยู่ในยุคสมัยก่อนหรือว่า baby boomer หรือว่าคนที่มีธุรกิจที่ดังอยู่แล้วเนี่ยนะคะแล้วก็ประสบความสำเร็จอยู่แล้วให้เข้ามาช่วยเหลือทางด้านของกิจการทางสังคมมากยิ่งขึ้นเนี่ยนะคะเดี๋ยวเราจะไปดูในส่วนของการวางแผนกันว่าศาสตราจารย์แคสลินเนี่ยนะคะมีความคิดเห็นอย่างไรเกี่ยวกับการวางแผนทางด้านของเชิงยุทธศาสตร์เพื่อที่จะรุกตลาดทางด้านนี้มากยิ่งขึ้นด้วยนะคะ Talking about planning we were talking about planning earlier and then that's planning from the beginning and then like persuade all the kids change the hearts of the people who had doubt but we'll talk into the strategic planning.
Yes.
Is the social entrepreneurship has those sort of planning?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, this book I helped co-author. It's called Social Entrepreneurship: How Business Can Transform Society.
Right.
And so from the very beginning, if you approach planning on an annual basis, we said, first of all, let's look at the year and say, what are the things we want to do to improve our income statement, how our income comes in, our expense controls, what do we have to invest in? And then all of a sudden we start to look at what else is involved, and that's called open book management. We also then go right into, okay, you can't fix everything in your company all at once. So quarter by quarter, we've developed a go-forward plan matrix, which helps you identify key issues relating to your customers, your products and services, your team, and your financing, and your value proposition. And underlying that is, how do you want to change the world through your company? And then, how will we know you did it? And so we have, that's called a theory of change, and a performance dashboard. So you will measure activities, and you measure impact. And so I think for our students, the fact that business can be cool and generate cash, business can change the world and also be something that they connect with their parents and with the older generation, that this is really a bridge moment to say that business may be, in my opinion, the most positive transformational force that's voluntary and peaceful.
So you can say that you have 4C in the strategic planning,
Yes.
with this cool, cash, change, and connect.
There you go. Absolutely.
Well,
Would you like to come and lecture at our class? Or certainly be part of the student body?
maybe you
Yes.
can add that into your...
I'll be teaching that on Friday in Boston
Right.
at Babson College.
Well, we'll talk about the, go into the family, like
Yeah.
how the young people can incorporate these theories or strategic planning into pursuing their parents
Yes.
and all those people who is older generation than theirs. But how can they, looking at the bigger pictures, like individually, family is like a unit, the smallest unit that you can have.
Yes.
How about the community? How can you incorporate social entrepreneurship?
Sure. If there's a mayor, for example, and let's assume that it's not a perfect world. That I don't think there's many perfect cities or towns in the world right now. So there's always something that has to be fixed. And so let's assume that maybe there's an issue of children that are not having a high enough education. So that's an opportunity to bring business and the community together and saying, let's be more holistic in how we think. That first of all, business, what skills do you need? In the United States, there's a growing gap between the technology and the soft and hard skills, quantitative and qualitative skills of candidates, and there's huge opportunities and not enough candidates to fill them. So I think to have a fair assessment of where the human capital is for a town, then a conversation with both businesses and the educators saying, oh yes, we're educating our students to do, let's say, a very rudimentary software program when that's already out of date in the business world.
Right.
It's trying to get the education system and the businesses to actually say, we want to have the best student in the world coming into the best economy in the world. An aspirational vision that the educators can't solve it by themselves, the mayor can't solve it, and the business can't solve it by themselves.
They have to work
but if
together.
they collaborate and work together, that there's the power of community effort that will work. We see that all over the world. So that's one area, the human capital. The other aspect, and this is identified by BUSM and Bangkok University's partnership with Babson and Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, that Thailand is doing well, but it can do so much better. And it has to make a choice. Will it be a follower of others in the ASEAN Rim, or will it be a leader? And if it's a leader, then it has to fix a few things. It has to fix the government regulation to make it on how you run a business. It has to fix access to capital. It has to and get more capital available at different levels. It has to fix that talent pool. And that's why BUSM is so important to an entrepreneurial talent pool. It has to broaden the understanding and knowledge base of the people. And that's the power of education with an intention, not a process. And then I think the final part is it has to be a global citizen. It has to engage with the world more effectively through trade and through knowledge transfer and culture transfer. I think the United States could be much stronger with more Thai influence, honestly. So we would welcome that.
Well, do you have any example of the businesses that has already accomplished, in the local community, let's say, from the United States?
Yes.
That incorporate this social entrepreneurship in the business?
I've been blessed with being a faculty member, and before that an entrepreneur, faculty member for 10 years. So now I have over 150 students that are doing some type of business somewhere in the world. So 2 days ago we used Skype to call one of my students, Charlie Nichols, from City University of New York, Baruch, who went to Kenya to set up a solar-powered drip irrigation system for subsistence farmers, make irrigation affordable. Also to attack a pollution issue of diesel fuel. So he now is in his second year, and he told a story. He said, I have figured out how to use technology to help a farmer in rural Kenya make his land better. And number one, it took the farmer 12 months to earn $600 US. Because of this technology, and because Charlie has an innovative financing where the farmer pays every month as opposed to one time, makes it easier, and he doesn't spend all his money on diesel fuel.
Ah.
He now has earned $6,000 in 3 months. So 12 months to get that amount of money, right?
Right.
$600, and 3 months to get $6,000. So he's had a growth in earning, yes? Now, what does that mean to the farmer or his family? The farmer at $600 per year had to make a choice between paying for his wife to get surgery or to send his son to school. Now, because the revenue is higher, he can help his wife
Do both.
and his son. So that's kind of, we call it doing good and doing well. Doing well in business, doing good in the world. And so we had a student come in, another student of mine who embraces this, who is doing senior citizen care in Brazil. And he flew in, his name is Marco Chachet. He flew in from Brazil to be a teacher assistant here. And his model is to actually have social activities that involve all the family, not just the senior citizen. And then finally, we had another teacher assistant fly in from Australia who basically is doing single-serve wine glasses in recyclable plastic to cut down on the weight of and the use of glass to create wine bottles, and also the carbon footprint of transportation of the wine bottles all over the world. So they're all, in essence, using their passion to create greater possibilities with a holistic approach of making money, making meaning, and helping improve the environment, and also creating jobs and improving society. So that's a pretty good thing. And I think many Thai emerging young people will say, I think I want that. I think that's the type of direction, that's where I want to spend 60 to 80 hours a week of my life, in something that's harmonized with meaning and making money.
Well, that's a great idea, but as you mentioned, that it needs cooperation from both sides, from our side and from the government side as well. And then the government sector, I've heard for so many years about this SE or social enterprise thing. In England, for example, they set up the committee to help, given some thoughts and ideas and all those things. And then in Singapore, our neighbors, they also have some sort of a committee that will help people who are interested in this. And Thailand, go back, maybe a couple of years, the government has, see the importance of the SE, and then they come and take part in this. Do you think what sort of regulations or ways that the government can do to help improve the SE sector?
The good news is I think people, be it in the government sector or private sector or educational sector, they want things to be better. It's just oftentimes they're working by themselves in their silos. And I think part of being creative and entrepreneurial is to take those silos and re-engage them. So I would say, what I've seen successful and help create is effective public-private partnerships. Just intentionally saying, we have got to figure out together how to work. And so it might be something where you have a combination of public policy, those are rules that say, you know what, there could be a fast-track program for business registration for young people that want to start a business. In the United States, we have a legal status called B Corp, where you actually can, by founding your company, take investors and say, we're not going to have maximum return, we're going to have blended return. We will be committed to giving you 6 or 8 or 10% IRR, return on investment, but we also are committed to creating X number of jobs, and we're also committed to changing something in society or the environment. So I would say that, again, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor report from Bangkok University School of Management and Entrepreneurship, that they would have the data as to where the opportunities are. So Busam is really the hub of the wheel, in my opinion, for where opportunities are for new public-private partnerships and creating, well, I just taught a course yesterday, there's either win-lose negotiation or win-win negotiation. And it's much more effective to have win-win
Right.
a negotiation. Win-lose, somebody's always upset, and it doesn't work long term. And so we worked a lot on the elements of negotiation for a greater expanded pie, as opposed to me taking part of yours. So that's the mindset that's very important to shift.
Well, so talking about win-win, and I think soon Thailand will be part of the ASEAN Economic Community, which AEC. How can the social entrepreneurship or like the business sector can emerge into that business?
Sure, it's an exciting time. To be a member of AEC, I asked Thailand, do you want to follow others lead, and is that good? Or does Thailand have a better sensibility? I would bet on Thailand, sensibility and ethics, honestly, and principles that are within the culture.
Right.
I would bet on those than some other countries, honestly. So the question is, just because you join, does that mean you have to follow for the rest? Or should you lead? And maybe you can be a bit of a follower and eventually a leader. But I think there's so much to improve, there's so much opportunity, there's so much growth coming. Why not lead with Thailand principles and values than some other country? And so part of that is having enough people to be able to come into a pipeline. And that's why Busam is important, is that they're creating the human pipeline of people who have a new way of, not a radical way, but I think a simpler, in the United States we'd call it a more Zen way, that they would be more balanced and more holistic.
Well, talking about that, you're saying that you need to have more as much people as possible to come and join, and be the leader of the area or those sort. How can you make people think of giving back to the society while like basic principle of people doing the business, they don't want to gain profit? So what's the people, or say the student at Busam, learn how to?
I think I've been one of the leaders and championing this movement, so to speak. And my point to the students is, don't wait till you have gray hair to try and make a difference. You don't have to, first of all. And the world can't wait, second of all. And that if you realize that you can start small, start now, start this afternoon, do one act, and then see and evaluate it. We call that ETA, entrepreneurial thought and action. And so the entrepreneurial thought is saying, well, this is the way things have been done. Maybe it's good, but is it great? If it's great, how can it be excellent? There's always a humble approach to say this can be better. And with that, you say, well, maybe we can do things differently here. But talking about it is just talk. So then we say act. Now, part of the American culture, honestly, is that we encourage ourselves to act and to fail quickly, but not all the time, but to learn. Fail quickly, learn quickly, do it cheap. Make failure as cheap as possible, and then do it again, and then do it again. And that's part of the emphasis of Busam, that's part of the social entrepreneurship course we just completed, is that we want to get the cycles going faster. The cycles of observing, of orienting to the new way, making a decision, trying it. If it's great, keep improving it. If it didn't work, learn from it and then try again. It's a humble approach, but it's a very empowering approach because you're getting smarter. And that if you accept both success, oftentimes we learn more from setbacks because we can be more reflective. If we're always succeeding and everybody's saying great, 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 you actually start to believe it, and that's dangerous too. So I think if you can be present. Again, maybe that's another element of Buddhism, maybe it's another element of the Zen state, is that if you can be present and say, is my company doing the best? Yes, maybe my accountants say yes, but maybe my customers say yes, but do I say yes? Is this good enough? And I think in that pursuit of making things better, there's huge energy that comes from that, and that's a good way to live.
So Let's talking about more about the student bosom. You were mentioning it that they will learn from the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit more about the course?
Oh, sure, absolutely. We have an articulated track that includes introduction to social entrepreneurship, introduction to negotiation, introduction to marketing, creativity. There's a whole curriculum. It's a one-year curriculum that includes different modules that will be kind of over the next 4 months here. And then the students will fly to Boston and study at Babson College, which is ranked #1 in the world for entrepreneurship, studies, research, and action. And they'll be 8 weeks on campus at Babson College. They will take courses there. And in essence, there's about 21 different subject matter courses that are in a full Babson MBA process. This master's process will have compression of those massive number of courses. So I'll give you an example. We covered negotiation in one course a day, 8 hours. Now the knowledge that we had at Babson was we worked with Harvard Law Project, which teaches negotiation in 1 year. Babson compressed it to 7 weeks, and we compressed it to 8 hours. So what we tried to do is say, when all is said and done, core elements. What do you need to do? How can we practice it in class? So we went over a whole series of video analysis of negotiations in action. We then went through a whole bunch of slide decks as it relates to the subject, and then we practiced it. We had simulated sales and negotiation processes. And I had to stop the class twice and said, it's only a game. It's only a simulation. They're so intense. We recreate the negotiation process. It was so intense, you would have thought you were on the stock exchange. They were running back and forth between rooms. The energy was so high as it relates to what somebody wanted to sell, what somebody wanted to buy, what price, what was their anchor price. And they were starting to use the principles of negotiation, the zone of possible agreement, the reservation value, when do you walk away, the BAT no, the best alternative to a negotiated approach. All those, how do you create value in a negotiation versus take value and leave and not create as much value. So it's kind of, some of us learn maybe that you should not make the first offer, where research all around the world now tells us the person who makes the first offer actually anchors the conversation. So if you go into a store and you see a beautiful pair of shoes and it's negotiable, and if you make a real low offer, what happens is you anchor the debate. Right. And then a person starts to come this way as opposed to you, and you're going to move too. And that's called the zone of possible agreement. And so once you understand the dynamics of a negotiation, you can actually be better. And so that's what we do, is we try and go in to the theory, the practice. We have about 10 different learning methods that we've developed at Babson College. We all know one of them, where the professor comes in and says, textbook, we'll open to page 1, right? And then you just read 1 page at a time. We don't do that. We use the tool, but we don't do that. So we use videos, we use peer learning, we use simulations, we use all sorts of what's known as accelerated learning and adult pedagogy, where it's like, how do you turn people's brains on to learning fast?
So that's how you do it but you know, for those who wants to learn about the social entrepreneurship and they enter the bosom course. But for those who doesn't have the ability to go, or like don't know how to do that, can they start the business small?
Absolutely. Now again, the big thing about entrepreneurial thought and action is to start small, but start now.
Right.
Don't think about it for the next 15 years, because you won't know. You need to test it. So we say take small acts, do them very fast, learn from them very quickly, change, try again. And eventually what will happen is that the gears will start to form.
Right. And
they'll start to have value. For example, Apple. Apple wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for a test of a mistake. They thought the market would be in word processing, but one of the engineers actually made a mistake and put desktop design as a priority. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, we have where's our spreadsheets? And like, no, we have desktop design. And that is what succeeded. And if they hadn't tried and made mistakes, they would have been a me too. They would have been probably a 5th place Excel's, like a spreadsheet company.
So don't scare to make mistakes, because mistakes make perfect.
Absolutely, because it can be a great teacher, and it brings you to a better truth.
Well, lastly, I would like to thank you, Professor Caslin, for joining us on the show. Is there anything you want to say to our audience, like the Thai who wants to, start a business and think the social entrepreneurship or social enterprise is the way to start?
Yes, that we believe everyone has dignity and capacity and unique perspective on the world, and that entrepreneurs do not wait for the world to act on them, they act on the world. And here at Busam, that is the place to find a home. And if you cannot take a full course, at least contact them and know that there's one place in Thailand that wants to help you. And they will figure out, maybe they'll get you an article, maybe they'll get you a web link, maybe you can follow them on Facebook and feeds. There'll be a way that you'll be able to have a home there. And then over time, you'll have a community to work with. We call it a herd, H-E-R-D, that people who think differently and want things to be better, in essence, are, in a metaphor I use, a lone Mustang. Very powerful, but individual. And we want to put them all together so that they all run and support each other. Because that's where the strength of this Mustang is. It's not in a lone person, but it's in a herd of believers. So
you must act now, start now, just don't think and staying at home. Just start your business now.
Yes. Test, absolutely.
So thank you very much for joining our show, and then maybe next time, please do come back and then tell us more. ขอบคุณค่ะ ก็ได้ทราบกันไปแล้วนะคะสำหรับศาสตราจารย์ไมค์แคสลินสำหรับมุมมองเกี่ยวกับธุรกิจหรือว่ากิจการที่ตอบแทนสังคมนะคะหรือว่ากิจการเพื่อสังคมนั่นเองหรือว่า social enterprise social entrepreneurship นะคะศาสตราจารย์แคสลินให้คำคมหรือว่าข้อคิดที่ดีทีเดียวนะคะสำหรับการทำธุรกิจไม่ว่าจะเล็กหรือใหญ่ก็ตามนะคะขอให้คุณมีความคิดริเริ่มแล้วก็จงเริ่มเดี๋ยวนี้เนี่ยนะคะอย่าเพิ่งจะคิดแล้วก็รอจนถึงวันหน้าไม่ว่าอะไรก็ตามจะสายเกินไปนะคะและนั่นค่ะคือทั้งหมดนะคะความน่าสนใจที่เรามาฝากคุณผู้ชมในรายการตอบโจทย์ SME ทางช่อง Smart SME TV ชี้ช่องรวยนะคะจนถึงโอกาสหน้าวันนี้ขอบพระคุณมากๆสำหรับการติดตามพบกันใหม่สวัสดีค่ะ
สนับสนุนโดยไทยเบเวอเรจจำกัดมหาชน BSC ชุดชั้นในวาโก้น้ำดื่มใหม่เจริญปุระ